Preparing for employment, personal presentation in the workplace. A big part of our personal presentation is what we wear in the workplace. There are generally three dress code types: casual, and business professional. Business professional is button-down shirts, ties, pantsuits or skirts, jackets or suits, and nice shoes. Business casual includes dress slacks, chinos, khakis, tucked-in button-down shirts and blouses or skirts, and scuff-free shoes. Some jobs require safety wear, like steel-toed shoes, gloves, hard hats, eye protection, and other personal protective equipment, or PPE. Employers will let you know when this is mandatory. Even when there is no written dress code, you should match your clothing to the place that you are working. People are just more comfortable around other people who are wearing similar clothing to what they are. Avoid wardrobe malfunctions. Avoid clothing styles that don't complement your body shape or size. Avoid ill-fitting clothes, too tight, too clingy, wrong size, wrong cut or fit. Avoid anything resembling exercise clothing, sweatsuits, or yoga pants. Avoid revealing clothing, low-cut shirts, miniskirts, tight pants. And avoid transparent anything. Avoid shoes and jewelry that are unsafe or out of place, flip-flops, high heels, rings, and other jewelry that can get caught in equipment. Avoid wrinkled, dirty, stained, frayed, or torn clothing. And avoid shorts, capri pants, tank tops without collars, or anything that reveals your midriff, t-shirts with inappropriate logos, muscle shirts, and anything transparent. Did we mention anything transparent? Self-expression has gradually become more acceptable in the workplace, but you should still not take this for granted. Be aware that your appearance can affect how you are perceived by supervisors and coworkers. Typical areas of self-expression are jewelry, tattoos, hairstyling or color, makeup, fingernails, hygiene, perfume or cologne, and even your posture. A conservative approach is often the best practice until you have a better understanding of what is acceptable. Often, the appropriateness of our behavior depends on the time and place. Things we do or say in the privacy of our home may not be appropriate for the workplace. To some extent, even the content we share on social media or the things we say in public may have an effect on how we are perceived at work by coworkers or customers. It will also have an effect on the potential for future jobs. Businesses and organizations will want to present a consistent image to customers. Keep that in mind when deciding how to present yourself. Think how there are always some constraints depending on the time and place. While it is okay to tackle another person on a football field, it is completely unacceptable on a basketball court. Preparing for employment, policy, procedure, and rules. It's important to understand the difference between policies, procedures, and rules. A policy states that we will do certain things. A procedure describes the step-by-step process for doing those things. And a rule says how or when we will not do those things. When it comes to rules, pay close attention to written rules and guidelines. Make sure you understand what is required and what the consequences are for not abiding by those rules. Just because another worker seems to be getting by with breaking the rules does not mean you should assume it is okay. Be personally accountable for yourself and for your actions. Do what is best based on guidelines set forth for you. Your employer relies on your willingness and ability to follow the rules. Employers must constantly assess risk. When you don't follow the rules, you are a risk to your employer, whether due to safety violations, halts in production, low morale among coworkers, or outright violation of laws, which can bring fines or discredit to the organization. Many times we may not understand the reasoning behind rules. So why should we follow the rules? When airline stewards give instructions for emergency procedures, it includes use of oxygen masks. The instructions are, place the oxygen mask on yourself first before assisting small children or others. This doesn't mean that you are more important than others, or that it is every man, woman for him or herself. It means that you can't help others if you don't first take care of yourself. So don't be quick to assume that a rule is stupid or doesn't make sense. Companies are concerned with managing risk. Who are you most concerned about when it comes to risk management? Yourself. Keep a good, clean work history and record, free of disputes and conflicts, leaving on your own terms, and remaining in good standing with previous employers. If you don't have a good sense of career self-preservation, you are considered a risk to employers. Employers see it this way. If you don't care about your own well-being, why would you care about the well-being of the organization, your employer, coworkers, or customers? Consistency. Consistent operations mean consistent results. The more experienced you become at certain skills, the more tempting it becomes to try to cut corners or find shortcuts. Instead, really work on perfecting a task each and every day. There's a story about a carpenter named John. He had built hundreds of houses for his company over the last 15 years, and his work was so good that the company became one of the premier contractors in the country. John worked extremely hard, putting in overtime and paying special attention to detail on every project. One day, John decided he was going to retire, so he spoke with his boss about it, and they decided that he would build just one more house for a special friend. Half-heartedly, John agreed and began work on the house. Though he had built excellent houses in the past, this build was different. Many times in the past, John had pushed through days and months where he struggled to find motivation, but he just didn't feel it on this project. Knowing this was his last go-around, John showed up each day with less focus than usual. He bought materials and supplies that were second-rate. He delegated a lot of tasks without providing supervision. He only worked hours he was supposed to, knowing that he could build the house up to code on autopilot. He showed up every day with little joy and without the drive to be better than he was the day before. Despite the lack of desire and motivation, the house was built on time and was up to code, although not built to the standard he was used to. Walking into the office, beaming ear to ear, John met with his boss to shake hands and say farewell. After saying thanks, John walked toward the door. His boss called to him, "John, one last thing." And as John turned to face him, his boss handed him a small box with a ribbon around it. John opened the box and pulled out a set of shiny silver keys. His boss said, "The house is yours. You deserve it." And he gave him the keys to the house John had just built. Immediately, John's heart sank. If only he knew that he was building his own house, he would have done it all differently. He would have worked with the utmost passion and precision. He would have spent twice the amount of time and would have showed up every day with a clear focus on the job at hand, knowing that he was going to reap what he was sowing. The truth is, on every job we do, we are building our own self, our own integrity, and our own future. It may not seem important at the time, it may be hard, but it will always be worth it to do our best work. What are the consequences of not following rules? First, you could get hurt. Next, poor product quality could result, and legal consequences for the employer. All of these can be costly and devastating for an employer, and you as well, since you may experience disciplinary action or even lose your job. Here is an example of a rule that could be perceived by employees many different ways. A 24-hour call center has an excellent service record which is achieved by maintaining minimum staffing levels. Employees are asked to sign in and out at the supervisor station before going on bathroom breaks. A recently issued new rule states employees are to call the supervisor's desk before coming to sign out for bathroom breaks. What is the most logical explanation for the new rule? The supervisors don't want the added distraction of employees coming and going at the sign-out sheet. The supervisors like to have as much control over the employees as possible. The supervisors want to discourage employees from taking breaks as much as possible by making it more of a hassle than it is worth. The actual reason was the supervisors needed to verify minimum staffing levels before employees actually left their workstation. For additional information about Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development Services, contact a Missouri Job Center near you. Locations and additional information are available at jobs.mo.gov or 1-888-728-JOBS. Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services are available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Missouri TTY users can call 800-735-2966 or Missouri Relay 711. If you would like additional information about this video, contact clink@copicinc.org.